Hello, everybody. So I brought a monologue to all of you yesterday about these Ivy League presidents. At this point, I'm sure that you have seen the clip somewhere about the three of them unable to immediately say that calling for the genocide of Jews would constitute bullying and harassment under their student code of conduct. Obviously, they've been called out for their hypocrisy on the issue, because we all know that if they had been asked about the calling for the genocide of black or trans people or both, that they would have immediately said, oh, these horrible words, and they would have issued the same fraught language that they did during BLM. Now, this has opened up a lot of debate around whether, especially within the Jewish community. And I think what most of them have fallen on, Bill Ackman, all the other, many who built careers on being free speech absolutists, is they're like, no. The thing is that we're upset that we as American Jews are not considered marginalized within DEI. Our objection, though, is not to the diversity, equity, inclusion, racial preference regime itself. They just want to also be included as special. And I vehemently object to that, of course, but they have adopted the same tactics, it seems at this point, of BLM, which is just full-blown cancellation, and to try and get these people to issue struggle session type of statements, which is largely what's occurring now, and now including calling for the immediate expulsion of all of these presidents. And they have been successful. Let's go ahead and put this up there on the screen. So the University of Pennsylvania, the Penn Wharton Business School, probably one of the most important business schools in the entire country, has now asked the president, Liz McGill, to resign. Let's go ahead and put the letter, please, up there on the screen. And I'm going to read, you can blah, 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 you can go read through it. But in the call for resignation, they say this, quote, "In light of your testimony yesterday before Congress, we demand the university clarify its position regarding any call for harm to any group of people immediately, change any policies that allow such conduct with immediate effect, and discipline all offenders expeditiously. Call for punishment of any person that calls for harm of any group of people." Okay, so that might sound good, but let's think about it for a second. So if you're calling for the genocide of Jews, okay, that's what they want. They want to make sure that would make sure that you're kicked out. But what if you're pro-Israel and you're calling for retaliation on Hamas? Hamas is a group of people. So now what? Wouldn't that be harm on a group of people? Would that result in your expulsion? Or we could say, obviously both should be allowed. And if it then goes into the realm of harassing, bullying an individual student and crosses the line into violence or somewhere within that, then yeah, that person would be expelled, because it would translate into individual and it would translate into pervasive, and or it would be violence. But the speech itself should be protected. Now, obviously, that's what I think it should be. That's what a lot of people used to think until they switched on a dime after October 7th. Again, I think their core objection is that they previously considered themselves marginalized and or do so now, and are very upset that the DEI people don't also consider themselves as marginalized, and that's what they want to rectify. They basically want to be the new BLM, even if they disagree with BLM. And if you want to see this on, if you really want to see this, put this up there on the screen. The new president of Harvard, Claudine Gay, a BLMer herself, has now issued a new clarification to the Harvard Crimson. And the way that she talks is exactly the way that all these university presidents and CEOs talked in June of 2020. Let's listen to some of her comments, okay? She says, quote, "I'm sorry. Words matter. When words amplify distress and pain, I don't know how you could feel anything but regret." She says, "I got caught up in what had become at that point an extended combative exchange about policies and procedures. What I should have had was the presence of mind to do in that moment was return to my guiding truth, which is that calls for violence against our Jewish community, threats to our Jewish students have no place at Harvard, will never go unchallenged. Substantively, I failed to convey what is my truth. When the committee invited me to the hearing, I didn't hesitate to agree. It was an opportunity to convey the depth of my personal commitment and institutional commitment to combating anti-Semitism." And she says she has now heard wrenching testimony about how much pain students are in, and to contemplate something I amplified that pain that's really difficult. It makes me sad. Okay, so once again, we basically have the same type of BLM nonsense that we all heard from the commanding heights of American culture for the last couple of years. So let's actually just think about that. Is this a good thing? Is this a net good result that, you know, if you are an American Jew and you're somebody who's cheering this on, I would really urge you to think about the precedent that's being set here, about whether it's a good thing to just be able to brute force your way into compelling people to make statements that, you know, are obviously half-hearted and fake, and to just now slot yourself in to a group that's able to compel these types of statements, get people fired, get people canceled, get people pearl clutching. I don't think this is a good thing. I hate all these university presidents, but for very different reasons, because they themselves are the product of the racial preferences regime, of the HR bureaucracy, of the speech police. And what I'm watching instead are the people who created such a regime just incorporate a new group into it. They're not changing their practices. They're not changing their curriculum. They're not changing fundamentally their ideology about actually getting to a point where we could have free speech on campus, conservative views, liberal views, Palestinian views, Israeli views. I think everything should be allowed, everything. And for those people who say about, you know, safety on campus, the language of safetyism is the road to hell. That's how the COVID regime happened. Masks, all of that. You're doing it not for yourself, but for somebody else. That's how safe spaces on campus, all of it came back to the idea that your emotional fortitude is so low that you need to be removed entirely from a place where you're not around people who don't agree with you. And in my monologue that I did, I actually played some videos of some of these Jewish students who the House of Representatives came forward, and they were saying things like, you got to walk to class and look at posters where people have scribbled things on them that I find offensive. Does that really make you feel unsafe, or does it make you feel upset? Feeling upset and unsafe are very different things. Safety is a physical condition. Now, I understand there's a big conversation about mental health and all that, and of course, and I feel bad for these students, but the precedent has to be such that in a society, especially in an American society, we get to disagree with one another. And actually, the reason we have our First Amendment, the reason that free speech is something that we've always tried to defend in this country, is that other countries don't have free speech. Israel does not have free speech. Gaza, Hamas, West Bank, they don't have free speech. We don't want to import these third world attitudes into our country and to enforce these types of regimes. That's actually why the DEI regime itself, it's illegitimate, it's un-American. And to have the robust debate, to have the ability to make sure that people aren't getting fired for the wrong reasons, even if you may not like them, and I don't, but I want them to be fired for the right reasons. I want people who are pushing this to say, okay, let's not donate to the university anymore if they're going to have DEI. But unfortunately, that's not what's happening. Instead, we're living in a more censorious in America today in elite higher institutions than we did before October 7th. And I think that's a net negative. So anyway, it's something that I felt like I wanted to speak out on and obviously give you guys the update. Thanks to all to the premium members who make all of this possible. And we will see you all this weekend if something crazy happens, and otherwise on Monday.
Hey guys, if you like that video, go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber, and help us build the best independent media organization on the planet.
That's right. We're subscriber funded. We're building something new. We want to replace these failing mainstream media organizations.
So again, to subscribe, it's breakingpoints.com.